Imagine taking a single block of wood and transforming it into something as eerie and captivating as a crow's skull. So, this whole thing started one random day while I was walking through the park, which is basically a crow convention center. Seriously, there are thousands of them. Anyway, I spotted something weird on the ground, and after my brain stopped screaming, "Don't touch that!" I realized it was a bird skull. A closer look confirmed it was a crow skull, which sounds gross but was actually kinda cool in a beautifully creepy way. Naturally, I decided, hey, why not try to recreate this vibe? Spoiler, carving crow skulls is way more popular than I thought. You can buy them as necklaces, home decor, or I don't know, weird conversation starters. Hey, do you wanna take a look at my crow skull collection? After sketching a very rough outline of what I hope it will eventually look like, I started grinding away. Yeah, I originally started carving indoors, thinking it'd be no big deal, but then I quickly realized I was turning my entire living room into a sawdust snow globe. It's way better to do this outside unless you want your house to look like a woodworking crime scene. And this is the part where I always find myself wishing I had bigger tools just to make things go a little faster. Especially during those late night sessions. But no matter how many times I chant, "I need a bigger tool," nothing happens. I won't stop trying, but no luck so far. I need a bigger... And now it's finally time to get into the finer details. First up, the eye sockets. Surprisingly, it's not as hard as I thought, but I'm starting to worry I might accidentally set this poor bird's skull on fire. Look at how burnt the wood looks inside. I swear if I keep going like this, I'm going to have a tiny little bonfire instead of an eye socket. After making the initial holes, I switched to a bigger tip to widen them up with the goal to eventually connect these holes and carve out a cozy little cave inside the skull. Oof, that's not a good sound. That's the hole is too tight for the tip" sound. But the solution is simple. Just keep working gently until the hole gets bigger. I can already feel I'm so close. Just a little bit closer. And there it is. A hole! I had to take a moment to really appreciate this accomplishment. I mean, seriously, a hole. Pure craftsmanship right there. But of course it's still not big enough, so back to digging I go. At least it's wide enough to switch tools. Now I'm using this rotating sandpaper thing, which makes the job way easier and way more satisfying. But alas, I have to go back to the steel tip because the sandpaper can't reach deep enough. And here's where things get risky. If I'm not careful for even a second, that steel tip buries itself into the wood like a drill gun rogue. I'm trying my best to avoid it, but it still happens because, well, of course it does. Oh. For now, I'm pretty happy with the eye sockets and brain area. Those are words I never thought I'd say. Next up, I'm making another hole, this time from below, which should eventually connect with the first one, like creating a secret tunnel entrance. This one's going smoother, probably because there's less material between the two tunnels I'm trying to join, and in an instant, ta-da! A brand new entrance. It's like I've just added an underground layer to this bird skull. Fancy, right? Now that I've got enough space to work with, I can switch back to the sandpaper roll and start shaping these tunnels. I've got so much room now I can even bust out the bigger sandpaper roll. Ah, what a time to be alive! Who knew the highlight of my day would be upgrading to a larger sandpaper roll, living the dream one tunnel at a time. Now that it's finally starting to look like something, I've shifted my focus to the crow's beak. Here's the tricky part. The more material I remove, the less room I have to fix things if I mess up. So basically every chisel stroke feels like I'm playing a game of "don't screw this up". The closer I get to the finished piece, the more I have to handle it like it's made of glass. For now, I'm working on some finer details like shaping the bone around the eye socket, you know, the little things that make it go from weird birdish object to a little less weird birdish object. It was time for another tunnel project, this time focusing on the nostrils. I decided to try drilling the hole first before doing any more shaping. Maybe it'd make the process easier. And wow, drilling is so much easier, note to self. Always drill the tunnels first from now on. With the tunnel in place, I started working on widening it, and I have to admit, it felt a little weird, like sticking a finger inside someone else's nose, but you know, with a drill. Which is both funnier and way more dangerous. Now look at this beauty. The details are really starting to come together, and what I had imagined is finally taking shape. All I need to do now is accentuate the existing features to give it that full-on skull vibe. But I still had one little issue. The piece felt way too heavy. Definitely not what you'd expect from a bird skull. Birds have these super light bones, and my piece in progress still felt like a chunky block of wood. So naturally I decided to remove more material. Somewhere in the process, I even accidentally connected the underside to the nostrils, which, let's be honest, was only partly on purpose. But the result? Chef's kiss, mwah! Now the whole piece feels lighter and way more delicate, just like a real bird skull. Since I was mostly satisfied with how things were shaping up, I moved on to the next stage, carefully hand sanding the whole thing. I started with some raw sandpaper just to rub away those pesky leftover wood spikes. Once that was done, I switched to a much softer approach. Here's the thing about sandpaper. If you're not careful, you can accidentally erase all those delicate details you worked so hard on. And since I was really vibing with some of the details that popped up, some of them happy little accidents, I made sure not to get too carried away. Now, one of the most satisfying steps, oiling up the piece. I grabbed an old sock, don't judge, poured on some oil and started rubbing it in. It's so satisfying watching the wood change color. It's like coming to life, just guzzling down the oil like it's been stranded in the desert. You can see once it has dried, it looks okay, but it has these little hairs on it. After letting the wood rest for a day, I gave it a super gentle once over with the soft sandpaper. But then, as I admired it, I thought, this could definitely use another layer of oil, but this time I want it polished. The best way to do that with a leather cloth. Problem was, I didn't have one. But then it hit me. Wait, I am covered in skin, and skin is just, well, leather in the making. So for the final touch, I used my bare hands, dripping a few tiny drops of oil and massaging it in like a spa treatment for wood. And there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed watching this little creation come to life as much as I've enjoyed making it. Thanks for tuning in, and if you feel like it, hit that like button or even subscribe. Have a great day.